So this was a childhood movie I watched a lot. I believe I had it on DVD, but I can't find it, so I watched it on Peacock. Um, I have the movie. I used to read the books all the time in school. I've probably read most of them. I believe there's only like 60 something in the original series, but I also read like the haunted theme park ones that they were doing. They had a lot of good ones on that series. Um, it was a pretty solid movie. I think it's pretty good. The sequel, I had saw like one trailer for when it came out, and I never watched it. Um, this movie, however, I saw trailers for all the time, so I don't know what the marketing team did for the sequel because it clearly didn't do that well. If I was, I was decently young. That movie's 8 years old, and this movie's almost 10. Um, So, yeah, this one was marketed everywhere. They had that one scene with the dog that scares his aunt, always in the trailer. This was a really good movie. I really enjoy it. So, let's talk about the movie. Of course, one of the main characters is Dylan, who has been in a lot of horror stuff. He's been in other stuff, but he was in Don't Breathe. He's in this. He's in Scream. He's in all kinds of cool shit. I believe he was also in this really shitty Netflix horror movie that I forget the name of. I've never seen it because I don't have Netflix, but I remember people shitting on it, and I believe he was in it. He was also, Clay in 13 Reasons Why. Um, I watched I mainly watched clips of that show. I've never seen it. I watched like maybe one or two full episodes in class in middle school when I probably shouldn't have because our teachers had us watch it because we were reading the book in class. Um, but anyway, we're here to talk about Goosebumps. Jack Black plays R.L. Stein. Dylan plays, a pretty generic role in this movie, but I still enjoy this movie nonetheless. It's just, he's a guy that lost his dad. They don't say he died, but it's pretty well implied. I don't think he took off on him for to have that reaction that we have in the movie. It's clearly a relationship where the dad died. He didn't take off on him. But they never specify. The mom doesn't really get to do that much in this movie. She's barely a character. Um, unfortunately, I didn't really care for her. She's like not this again because he starts talking about monsters, even though like he's had maybe one instance, and it was because he thought a girl was in trouble. How does that correlate at all? A girl being in trouble versus monsters. Um, it's all right. I think it's still a pretty good kids movie. They mainly focus on Slappy, the werewolf, and the abominable snowman because most of R.L. Stein's characters don't exactly work for a movie like this. Um, Monster Blood is one where people eat this blood thing and it starts to go bad. I remember the gist of it. Like, I think the creature or whoever ends up eating the thing, a hamster ate it in one book. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't remember how they solve it. And then there's like the haunted mask book where, you put a mask on and every time you take it off, it gets harder to take back off it until eventually it stays on. So that does handicap the movie a little bit. And then a lot of the characters that they do introduce that you'd think would get to do a lot more just don't do that much. Like the gnomes, they get this really cool scene pretty early on in the movie. And then they don't really have a presence after that. I mean, they help Slappy burn some books, but that's about it for their character. Um, His love interest in this movie, ironically enough, is named Hannah, since he would go on to go into 13 Reasons Why with another character named Hannah. She's a pretty generic love interest in this movie, and she is not only made up for this movie, they admit she's like made up in this movie. It's a little meta, but not too meta. Because R.L. Stein in real life does not have a daughter. He has a wife and a son. There's no son in this movie, but for some reason he's got a daughter in this movie. And it's because he made her up because he was lonely, and she supposedly doesn't know that she's not real. So he defends that as her technically being real. I don't know how that works, but it turns out later that she knows she's not real because she's had a bunch of sweet 16s. She's like, how many sweet 16s can a girl have? So she knows she's fake. Um so let's get to the gist of the plot, cuz I've been definitely just been yapping. The gist of this plot is R.L. Stein and his daughter Hannah are kind of secluded in the house. They move a lot, but this is where they're staying in the presence of this movie. And Dylan has also moved here, and he wants to become friends with her. He also has this guy that he's friends with named Champ in the movie. Um, he's somewhat of a character. Um, Eventually, they break into R.L. Stein's house because, R.L. Stein's house, because he's kind of creepy and they think he might be abusing his daughter. Mainly Dylan's character believes that. And they accidentally, well, not even accidentally, they do it on purpose. They unlock one of the books. Dylan does, because Champ won't stop talking about how weird it is that the books are locked. And then he accidentally opens it while trying to pick it up, and that unleashes the abominable snowman, which leads to one of the cooler scenes in the movie. It's an extended scene with the snowman running away, causing havoc, and then, they are trying to get it back in the book at an ice rink. I think it's pretty good. Um, of course, some of the other books get knocked down in the havoc with the abominable snowman, and apparently, I guess maybe some of them fell open, though we don't see any of them fall open. It's like hinted that the locks broke on some of them. But the only reason the abominable snowman got out was because of Dylan picking it up. So I don't get how Slappy got out. But anyways, he realizes that Jack Black's going to put him back in the book. So he decides to burn all the books so none of the monsters can be put in the books again. Though it takes him a very long time to do it, because he gets the books pretty early on in the movie, and then almost near the end of the movie, he drives to the school and starts burning them. He's just kind of screwing around in this movie. Like, he's clearly just having fun and chaos, so it's not really, I guess, too much of a critique, but it's still stupid nonetheless, because he gets the books pretty early on, and then doesn't really burn them until the movie's halfway over. So, yeah, like, he goes and freezes the cops, and apparently stays there dressing up like a cop, and then freezes Dylan's aunt, and then he decides to leave. Like, he's just been there for who knows how long after he's already done what he needed to do, and then freezes his aunt. It does lead to a funny scene, though, with her calling him a dummy and him telling her to not say it. And then she does, so he has her frozen. Jack Black also voices Slappy in this movie, and he voices another character called the Invisible Boy. I believe he's from the Invisible book thing. I remember it. Like, but I don't remember there being like an evil invisible boy in it. I remember like someone turning invisible, and the more they took the potion or something that they couldn't come back to being visible, and that was like the stakes. But maybe I'm misremembering since I haven't read that book since I was a kid. But the Invisible Boy is only in one scene. He's on top of the car, puts some handprints on the window. Jack Black stops the car, and the Invisible Boy flies off. There's also a funny scene where R.L. Stein, Jack Black's character, makes fun of Stephen King. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Um, Another really good scene is, them in the store, and then the werewolf's in the meat section eating meat. And I noticed something with the werewolf on, rewatch for the review. The werewolf has shoes on, and his feet are sticking out of it because they got, bigger when he grew. And I think that's a pretty cool detail. I think his design's probably one of the coolest designs in the movie. I think all the CGI has aged well so far. Oh, I also recently found out that the Fear Street movies are R.L. Stein creations. I didn't know that. I found that out a few weeks before I watched this movie. I don't know. It was so random. I don't even remember how I found out. Um, Eventually they get to the school because R.L. Stein's um, typewriter is there for some reason. They never explain why it's there. He doesn't work there. He homeschools Hannah. So why is his typewriter in the school? But yeah, they go there. He starts writing up the book. Eventually, we get to the climax of the movie after, he does a little fake out with Slappy. And Dylan has to finish writing it because Jack Black's fingers are broken. And he comes to the conclusion that if, there's some monsters listed. And then they're obviously not going to list all R.L. Stein's uh, creations in this scene, but they list them and say all the monsters are going back in the book. And he realizes, well, if all the monsters are going back in the book, Hannah's going to go back in the book, which is so weird because she's not a monster. Like, she's made up, but she's not a monster. Um, it also is weird because of the ending scene of the movie. In the ending scene of the movie, they reveal that the Invisible Boy didn't go into the book. And he says he forgot about him. But they make a point of saying that when they wrote the story, that all the monsters went into the book. That doesn't really make sense to me. If all the monsters went into the book, how did they forget about him? All the monsters. Like, they specify that it's going to be all the monsters in the book. But yeah, apparently he slipped under the radar. When they specify it's going to be all the monsters, that's just a big nitpick with me. I remember seeing trailers for House and the Clock, like House with a Clock in its walls or something like that. It's another kids movie that Jack Black did that was semi-horror like this, and it, caused him to not be able to have a bigger role in the sequel. Even though I had saw trailers as for House and the Clock of Its Walls, I never did watch it as a kid. I don't know why. I was interested in it, and then I just never watched it. I saw it on DVD in the store once, and I didn't get it. I was interested in that movie, but I never watched it, so who knows? I might watch that movie one day, but I don't know about Goosebumps 2. So if you want to watch this, it's currently streaming on Peacock. I think it's decently funny. Yeah, it's fun.